Howdy, lieutenants and economists.
The most volatile, evil, disgusting things on the planet, humans. If you have a video request, you can always go to assholeconsulting.com.
Yeah, I am gonna charge you, kids. And that is the importance of not fucking up.
You are such an asshole!
Hey guys, old tired Cappy here, and I got 10 hours of sleep, and I just woke up from about a 2-hour nap, and I'm still tired. I don't know why doing this, that's motorcycle riding. If you know what's motorcycle riding, I guess just go, and that's it, and you twist your right wrist up, and if you have a cruise control, you lock it down, and you go, well, sometimes the cruise control doesn't work, and the throttle starts to slip again, and you slow it down, and you have to take it up, and you just slide it up, because the cruise control doesn't work. So I have to get an Allen wrench to make my cruise control better. Whatever it is, it did beat the hell out of me. I came in all the way from Van Horn, Texas to Phoenix, and that was an 8-hour drive, and I'm just getting old. Just think I'm getting old. Anyway, none of this has to do with our video request, and if you have a video request, you can always go to assholeconsulting.com, send me your questions, and I won't solve your problems, but I'll tell you the truth, and I'll kick your ass while delivering the truth, and you will pay me money. Do you really mean that mean, and you're going to tell people the truth and curse and swear? Yes, I will. You know anybody else telling you the truth? No, you don't. You got your parents and your teachers and the guidance counselors and media personality and politicians just blah, blah, blah. I mean, why am I poor? Why is nothing working? Maybe because people are telling you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear. So that's what I charge for my time, and I piss off a bunch of old baby boomers. Anyway, Alex writes. No, that's not it. Not Alex. Who wrote? What's his name? A young engineer. That's his name. Young engineer, right? Young engineer writes. Dear Clary, young engineer here. Big fan of your videos. I would like you to do a video about government seizing private retirement accounts in other countries. You mentioned this topic in previous videos. Can you talk about exactly what happened in Argentina, Poland, and those other countries? What was the lead up to and catalyst for government seizure? How may it happen in the U.S.? What would it mean for someone in their 20s just starting out with a 401k IRA? Please mention anything else you feel that is relevant, and don't hold back on the math, if any. The math is it's specific to each individual country, but let's go through your specific questions here. Can you talk about exactly what happened in Argentina, Poland, and other countries? It would take too long to explain what happened specifically in each country. But it was the same thing that happened in each country, and is happening here in the United States and Europe and all the what do they call them? The IPS drips, Japan. What do they call them? Oh shit! There was an acronym for all of them. Japan, Ireland, Portugal. I forgot. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What's happening in every country? Every country is that leftist socialist politicians, and don't let their name or their political party affiliation fool you. For example, our guy George Bush Jr. pissed away as much money. He was as much of a socialist since Lyndon B. Johnson was. If you look at the figures and adjust for GDP, George Bush spent more money than any president. I mean, I would have killed to have Bill Clinton getting a blowjob in the office than President Bush. This has nothing to do with Democrats, Republicans, Labor, Tories. It really doesn't. You have to look at their actual actions and the policies that were put in place. But what basically happens in all these countries is that politicians, regardless of stripe, voted in massive government spending on the social realm, on the welfare and the parasitism, basically paying people not to work. And to varying degrees, it all depends. But if you go to Argentina, it's a blatant example of cronyism, nepotism, corruption, money just going to the parasites of society. That's why Kirchner, the cunt. There's blatant. With Obama today, it's it's blatant, but it's a bit more honest because that's the way we voted. Society voted that in. I mean, you can't say it's corrupt. That's just what society wanted. And if we were to elect Bernie Sanders, it would be the same thing. I mean, it's upfront and honest, at least in the United States. Bulgaria, Poland, all the different countries were Cyprus. That wasn't even retirement. That was just bank accounts. It went right after the fucking cash. It was always about spending money on social programs. And you have to understand when we say social programs today, that doesn't mean like the poor guy who's destitute on the street. It's government workers, government pensions, Social Security, a social pension, and lazy motherfucking pieces of shit, parasitic scum who just plain don't want to work. The single moms, the single dads, the lazy deadbeat dads, the lazy deadbeat moms, the children that they always it isn't just this. Again, it depends on the country and it depends on what percentage. But usually, when you look at all the social spending, this is not like the United States bailing out the fucking banker scum. Usually, it's the dredge of society, the losers of society, the I afford more children than I can afford, or I have more children than I can afford type of people. And the immediate reaction is to say, we the children. No, it's you fucking without a condom. It is the stupid people of society breeding. And that is usually what we now have to go and bail out. Health-wise, food-wise, shelter-wise. Food, clothing, and shelter for illegitimate bastard children, since we've kicked men out of the household and we've replaced men with a government check. That is usually where it comes to. So what ends up happening is these countries, all of them, run into the Laffer curve, where you can't just go and tax more people. Because if you tax that much to actually pay for your current expenditures, you would crush the economy. And already people are starting to like leave Argentina, and they're like, well, I could go over here, especially in the European Union. Like if you're Bulgaria or Poland, we're going to jack your taxes by 40%. No, you ain't, because I'm going to go to the Netherlands or Denmark. I'm going to go away. I'm going to move my labor. I can move within this thing. So I do like the European Union in that regard because it does allow for genuine competition. So all the Greeks, anyone who has a bit of self-respect and like wants to work, leaves all their fucking lazy, parasitic, communist vermin in the Greek Isles behind, and they go and live better lives. So without that tax base, if you're already at your maximum tax level, and if you went beyond that, you'd start to deter economic production and productivity, and your tax base would shrink. And in a lot of cases, people say, whoa, look at your debts. We're not loaning any more money to you. Are you the United States? Do you have the almighty U.S. dollar? We're not loaning to you. We're going to cut off your credit. So now these countries, or back then those countries, had to figure out a way to make ends meet. And what's very tempting and very flavorful to socialist parasites, and that's what they are. I don't say that disparagingly. I say it descriptively. These socialist parasites look around, where's the money? Look at all these retirement accounts. And then they go and nationalize them. Or in the case of Cyprus, they go and just take money out of bank accounts. That is, in overall general, every country, what has led to the confiscation or the nationalization, they use that euphemism, of those retirement accounts. Now, how can you predict it? Well, if you're in the United States, we have a unique situation with the dollar being the world's reserve currency and the rest of the world being more sucky than us. So nationalization is not so imminent right now in the United States. We'll just print off more money, and the rest of the world will suck our dollar dick and sop up all the dollars that we produce. They'll sop up all the dollar sperm that we ejaculate upon the world. And that's literally what it is. It is us giving the world a facial with our U.S. dollar. So in that regard, at least in the United States, because we're a big enough economy, we have a large enough military, our dollar has value, because if you don't, maybe we'll invade you, maybe we won't, and who else are you going to trust? The Chinese, any competitor in the world, doesn't even come close, sadly, despite our horrible finances. So the dollar has some value. So I don't think it will happen in the United States. Now, what can happen in the United States, and what my primary concern is a good old-fashioned inflating away. Because that's essentially what we're doing right now with quantitative easing. All we're doing is printing off money to buy the Federal Reserve as a separate entity, as a Jesus Christ. Isn't this religious? Fucking great movie, Face Off. Isn't this religious? Fucking hate Christianity, by the way. That's the only way we get away with it. So we could print off our money, and because the world wants to suck our dollar dick and have us ejaculate dollars on their face, we don't have to suffer it like Zimbabwe does. Zimbabwe is a little bit more honest than the United States in all truth. And Robert Mugabe, dick as he may be, he at least has to suffer the consequences of his printing the money presses type of thing. So that would normally happen here if the world was sane. But since the world sucks even more than the United States, we just get to whip our dollar dick around and slap people in the face with it, metaphorically speaking. So it may not happen here, but if at any point faith in the U.S. dollar starts to decrease in not the U.S., but the world, you're going to start to see inflation hit the United States very harshly. And that's the payment that you would see. So it wouldn't necessarily be a confiscation. I don't think the U.S. would ever, I don't think any politician has the balls, except for Bernie Sanders or Trump, which is actually why I like those guys. At least you know what they're talking about. Those guys, not politicians, honest statesmen. I mean, and they're going to tell you what they're going to do. But unless they start confiscating national assets, I think most politicians, and even if they were elected, the Congress would never allow it to happen. We're just going to print off more money, and so the confiscation would come in the form of inflation. We just print off more money. You get your Social Security. I think in this and Gen X, we've been able to keep this game up so long. I thought the baby boomers were going to pay. I don't think they're going to pay. I think they're going to die. I think it's the millennials. I can't think of a more deserving generation that's going to suffer the consequences. I really think us Gen Xers, we're going to get our Social Security checks. I think so, because we're able to keep this dollar world's reserve currency game going on. Thank you, the rest of the world, for being more sucky than the U.S. Thank you, China. Thank you for being communist, corrupt assholes. Thank you for inflating your GDP. We really appreciate it. Us Gen Xers appreciate it. We appreciate that your people are slaving away at an exchange rate that you cap, you communists cap. It's amazing. You're all for the workers. You communists in China are all for the workers, and you basically enslave your own people to make us these things on the cheap. It's great. It's wonderful. I'm personally disgusted with it, actually, but in the grand scheme of things, this is a fraction of the cost of what it should be, and the rest of the world is. You Chinese communists have essentially, you crony capitalists is really what we should call you. You've enslaved your own people to make it so that we can afford shit like this. This is amazing. But you guys will never rival the U.S. dollar because of all your debt, your malinvestment, and you just don't adhere to the free market. I know you have your ideological reasons. You're communist, okay. Let me know when you're done sucking Lenin's dick and you want to join the rest of the real world, which is free market economics, because people want to be free. That's how it works. But in any case, I don't see in the even short or medium term future some country that's going to replace the U.S. dollar. So for Americans, what does that mean for our 401ks? All right, I don't think it'll be confiscated. I don't even think it can be inflated away, because what drives the value of investments, and you even see this in the Zimbabwe market and the Venezuelan stock market, is the future earnings of corporations. So you invest in a mutual fund, the underlying assets of which are stock and equities of other companies. Well, those companies, because they're selling, the value of your stock is in theory, the present value of all the future dividends and earnings of that company. Well, those future earnings would obviously be naturally hedged against inflation, because if the government prints all this extra money, these corporations would obviously increase the prices. And so it is not the past earnings or the current earnings that a corporation has, but the future earnings. And if you just flood the economy with money, those genuine commodities, whatever, producing cell phones or a gallon of gas or a motorcycle jacket or shirts or whatever else, that would obviously increase with inflation. So whereas normally I on a fundamental level, I say U.S. stocks, the S&P 500, the Dow Jones is overvalued. At the same time, I do recommend you do invest some money, IRA, 401k, at least some, into the S&P 500, because that is the productive assets of the United States that will produce genuine, valuable shit. And genuine, valuable shit has a natural built-in hedge against inflation. People will pay whatever, you flood the money by 200% more dollars, your earnings will grow, not in real terms, but inflationary terms, 200%. So when it comes to the United States, we're so cunty to the rest of the world. We literally are taking our dick and slapping it in front of the, like on the girl's face, and doing that with our U.S. dollar dick. Basically, so you're gonna eat it and like it. You're just gonna take it, and we print off more money. Not only will the rest of the world sop up our U.S. dollars, if you invest in U.S. companies or the S&P 500. Any dollar-denominated corporation, that has a natural hedge built in against inflation. Now, capital gains and fundamental value and purchasing, maybe not so much, but at least the future earnings in dollars do have an inflationary adjusted value to them in U.S. stocks. Not bonds, but U.S. stocks, U.S. equities, and the profits and the earnings thereof. Now, all that being said, diversify. That's a very important lesson. And this is why I not only have a little bit, and I won't lie to you guys, I'll tell you my investment. I even have a video out, like, what's my investment portfolio look like? I don't have a 401k or an IRA. I have a small IRA. I have a little bit of investments in stocks. This is only because I was poor up until 30. And even now, I don't make that much money. This is just what old minimalist Clary does. My retirement plan is the Smith & Wesson retirement plan. And minimalism, that's my retirement plan. I don't spend a lot of money. Right now, I'm at a buddy's place. You all think, we're riding across the country in the United States. Yeah, but I'm crashing with all my buddies. I don't pay shit for lodging. But what I am investing in is I have no debt except for my mortgage. I am trying to rapidly pay off my mortgage. My house is not a regular house. It is a side-by-side duplex. And that is kind of like, I invest in private investments, not public investments, publicly traded stocks, because the rate of return just isn't there. I look at dividend yields. If you don't want to know what that is, please look it up. I look at what is my annual income generating off of this. I even wrote a piece about investing in Davis Arini. And what I was talking about is putting my audiobook, Bachelor Pad Economics, turning that into an audiobook. So I have $1,000. And I can invest in my 401k or my IRA and get my tax deduction, but the annual rate of return that a stock is going to pay in terms of dividends, which is the only thing that matters, by the way, don't worry about capital gains, it's the only thing that matters, is going to be about 2%, which is no different than your, actually just maybe a hair better than your savings account. And then there's capital gains, and well, if you invest in inflation, which is, that's a legitimate cause too. But I look at investing with Davis Arini, and I pay him $1,000 to read my book, and based on quote dividends or profits or investments, my rate of return, I would get about $50 a month. So I paid. So hear me out on this. So I paid Davis $50. I paid Davis $1,000. That's my investment, and in return, I get a $50 a month dividend yield or profits. Per month. So that's $600 a year. $600 divided by 1,000. I'm sorry, motherfuckers. I don't see any New York investment banker giving you a 60% rate of return. And this is why I think most young people's investments should be. It should be investing in micro investments. It should be investing with your fellow shopkeeper down the road, because, and this is very key, you got to ignore capital gains. I know it can inflate. That's why you invest a little bit in the S&P 500. That's why you invest a little bit into the stock market. But when you're talking about what really drives the value of an investment, and that is what income does it generate, because you guys have got to understand, this is very important. Americans, the fucking dipshittery sheeple they are, all watching Miley Ray Syphilis and the fucking Kardashians and the New England Patriots and the Denver Broncos. Nobody's paying attention to. I get like, if I asked you to give me $100,000, don't you think you'd like some every year to come back to you? So, okay, what are you gonna do with the $100,000? Well, maybe I'd invest it. What in? I mean, you'd have some genuine concerns, but every fucking year, trillions of dollars is thrown in that stock market. Here you go, a 2% rate of return on my dividend yield. Would you want me? You give me $1,000 and I give you $20 a year. Think about that. You give me $1,000, and I give you $20 a year. Is that worth it to you? And that's what you're doing investing in the U.S. stock market today, is a dividend yield of about 2%. So I think the real investments are yourselves, paying off debt. Your interest rate is, I mean, right there, it's brilliant. Let's say you have credit card debt. Credit cards charge what, 10 to 25%? Are you going to get a rate of return of 10 to 25%? Even if the government allows you to write it off, you're still coming out ahead. So you pay off your debts, your mortgages. Everybody's mortgage is about 4%. I'm sorry, I don't know a risk-free. Savings is such shit. Where should I throw my money? Throw it at your mortgage, maybe. You save 4%, which isn't grandiose or anything like that, but you're at least making 4%. So that's what I would recommend, is paying down your debts if you have, which you don't. You already mentioned you didn't have debts. But at the same time, if you know a small investment, some guy who's like, I got this little thing on the side, because this is what it used to be like. You wouldn't even go to the stock market and invest in publicly traded companies. Oh yeah, he's going to invest in this. I don't invest in sports buys. Please do your research. Please analyze it. Or maybe I invest in rental property. Okay, I can buy a house for $200,000. It'll generate a rent of $20,000 a year, minus expenses of say $5,000, so you're netting $15,000 a year in profits. That's a 7.5% rate of return, I think. Do you know 7.5%? The dividend yield doesn't even come close to that. So I would, as a young man, you're in your 20s, I would start looking at private investments that the government cannot simply nationalize. And it is very simply where your investments are held. The only reason the government can nationalize accounts or 401ks is because it's with financial institutions. So you go and the 401ks, IRAs, your bank accounts, all nationalized a la Argentina, Poland, Cyprus, whatever. But if you own a house, especially in the United States, state law is pretty protective of housing rights. Not California. I would never go to California or New York or liberal places. But also, it's like, that's my house. That's my homestead. You just can't tax it away. Private investments, private companies, even though you don't get the tax deduction, the rates of return, if you're savvy and smart enough, will pay a higher rate of return. And then the government just can't swoop in and say, okay, Fidelity or Charles Schwab, give us 40% of these assets or throw all this money into this. So it is the private, closely held investments that I think they're going to come after it all. They really will, because of the rate the United States is going. But for Gen Xer lifespan, and I'm not even talking millennial lifespan, so you may not have this. You definitely probably want to invest in silver, gold, or overseas property. That's where I would start investing. That's really where I would do it. But for now, should you invest in a 401k IRA, knowing that they may confiscate it? I don't think they will confiscate it because no politician has the balls. It will also be hyperinflated, which would, if you're investing in 401ks, IRAs, even rental property, REITs, real estate investment trusts, ETFs, I think all those securities would be natural hedges against inflation. So have a little bit. Will your real rate of return be above zero? Maybe not, probably not, but you'll keep 90% of your investment purchasing power. Not too bad. Because the government, all the politicians, do we confiscate and nationalize assets like they did in Argentina and we all get unelected? Or do we, inflate away and print off more money? They'll print away and inflate off more money because the Americans are fucking stupid. You Americans, seriously. If I was okay, I would just show you guys my dick and say, suck it. Because that's what you fucking Americans should fucking do. They're too stupid. They'll be pissed off if they confiscate and nationalize their assets, but they'll be okay with the government printing off more money. So I would just have a natural hedge, invest a little bit in your 401k, IRA, of course. But then if you want real rates of return, it's in small investments. It's in these private investments that are less confiscatable, but then also provide much higher rates of return. Again, a la me paying Davis $1,000 and making a 60% annual rate of return. So, in any case, that's what I think. I wish I had like, oh yeah, go invest here. I mean, if you start making serious money, like millions of dollars, yeah, Singapore, Cayman Islands, get rid of your U.S. citizenship. But you got to get to the millions, not a million, millions, multiple millions of dollars for that to be cost effective. But since the vast majority of people are not in that category yet, you as the average Joe, yeah, throw a couple dollars into your IRA 401k, especially match. If your employer matches it, hell to the fuck to the yes. Yeah, that's free money. Absolutely max that shit out. But then beyond that, yeah, I'd be paying off your debts. I would be buying guns, silver, bullets, and booze. And I don't know, just get a girl with big tits and fuck her silly every night. I mean, really, that's the real commodity right there. That's the happiness. That's the joy. That's what I recommend. So, anyway, sorry I went a little long, but I think it's very important that we learn, what is investments, what where do we get our rate of return, especially in the world dollar reserve or world reserve currency of the U.S. dollar and hyperinflation and all that other shit. I think that's it's very important. So, anyway, go find yourself a big-titted girlfriend, and best of luck. Toodles.